Listen, so you did mention Alabama, and I do think the biggest takeaway we're gonna today's show is basically we're gonna go to conference by conference through the power conferences and talk about who we think is the biggest threat in March, not the best team, who is the team that is best suited to make a run in the NCAA tournament. But before we do that, it was a little bit of a momentous weekend in the fact that Alabama went into Auburn, beat Auburn. They're the new number one team in the country because Purdue lost their second game in their last three at Northwestern 64-58. Zach Edey had 6 turnovers. Looks like there might be a little bit of a playbook out on how to slow down the Boilermakers at this point. And meanwhile, on all of the metrics, Houston is now the far and away significant favorite or best team on KenPom, on Torvik, and all those other different metrics. So, Fanta, I ask you this. Where do you stand? Have you changed your mind on who the best team in the country is? Is it now clearly Alabama? Do you still think it's Purdue, and some teams just, you get bit on the road when you're in Big Ten play? Is it Houston, and we're just not talking about Houston? Where do you stand right now?
Well, I think it's interesting with Houston that they're 23-2, and we really have not spent a ton of time on them when you compare it to Alabama and Purdue, and part of that is life in the American. I mean, the fact is, Houston's playing in a league that would be like 8th in the pecking order, 7th or 8th, somewhere in that area. There's more juice, in my opinion, to the WCC, just because you've got St. Mary's and you've got Gonzaga there at the top. And you've got a Loyola Marymount who's actually been able to beat those teams this year. We're not getting that in the American. The American is not a very good league. However, I think we need to spend some time on Houston in a few moments. But, guys, I'm going to spend time on Alabama right now. The fact of the matter is this. In the SEC, 10 of their 12 wins have come by double digits. They have not started conference play at 12-0 since the 1955-56 season. And the job that Nate Oates has done in recruiting, in building out a roster, getting impact transfers, Mark Sears being one of them, the way that they defend and the tempo at which they play makes them not only the best team, as we're talking on this fine Tuesday, but one of the very most entertaining teams in the sport. Mm-hmm. The way that they have dominated competition in a good league, a really good league, has been nothing short of exceptional. And it just goes back to what Brandon Miller has meant, but I also think the way that other players have gotten better as the year's gone on. Noah Clowney has steadily gotten better as the year has gone on. They've got guard depth. Charles Bediako gets things done for them as well. They've got the complete package. And I know some people are worried about the fact that sometimes the tempo and the volume of three-point shooting could lead them to being susceptible to getting picked off or knocked off. But I would say that their style and their explosiveness, combined with the sheer individual talent of Miller and the coaching of Oates, actually makes them a safe bet. And it's seen in the results because they're not dominating the American. They've been dominant in the Southeastern Conference. And in a year where there's a lot of teams that have a flaw here or a flaw there, and we say it's wide open, an SEC team being 22-3 on the season means for me that they're the best team in college basketball.
Yeah, the impressive thing, T.O., is that they defend without really turning the ball over, right? They're a top 10 defense, and they're not a team that forces turnovers on like 23, 24, 25% of their possessions. They're at 16%. They just they do what they do. They stay in their stance. They get out. They contest the three-point line. They run you off the three-point line. I think they are like top 30 or 40 or something like that in percentage of three-point field goal attempts because they want to try to funnel you into Charles Bediako. That's your guy. I know you like him. You hyped him up last night.
Yeah.